Hey everybody, it's SmallgGay. I just got back from the Black Swan. I thought I'd put a picture of a real swan up just to be a little different than my usual movie review vlogs. I thought this was a pretty picture, a pretty swan. And rather than just a picture from the movie like I usually do, although I may go back to doing that again. I went to the theater out here where I live in New Jersey, and there were intellectuals there who thought they were reenacting My Dinner with Andre. They were having this horrific, loud, self-satisfied intellectual conversation all through the first 10 or 15 minutes of previews, and I was like, oh my god. I mean, they weren't modulating their voices at all. And then a lesbian couple came down and sat in front of me, but then they moved. They weren't too bad. You know, the only reason why they went to see this is because they heard there were lesbian scenes in it, lesbian sex scenes. All the lesbians, especially the ones who really hate pornography, love lesbian porn. That's just a little FYI that you're not going to hear from most people. They don't call it porn, but that's what they like. Anyway, so then this woman comes in behind me and pulls out a salad and starts sniffing. She's having her lunch in the theater with a cold. And she's a bag rattler. Now, usually I go to my local theater out here in New Jersey to see stuff, that's like Battle Droid 5. It's perfectly fine for seeing big, loud, bombastic crowd pleasers. The birds know I'm talking about a bird. They're really turned on suddenly. And but this one, I was like really prissy queen. I was like, oh my god, will you please shut up? I want to concentrate on the art. And this was an art film. Now, sort of an art film. It was one of those Hollywood indie art films, like an Angelica Film Center kind of art film. It's unusual for my mall to even show something like this. And they've had it for a couple of weeks, obviously based on awards buzz. I had to get up and move because the people were just so obnoxious. Can you imagine? I was like, one more reason to rent it. It really is getting ridiculous. People don't even know how to behave in public anymore. So you can tell I'm a conservative, can't you? I really despise rudeness in public. I mean, a rude remark is fine if it's funny, but that's about it. Anyway, I had to go to this art film alone. I had to go without the fag stag. I went stag. I went fag stag or stag. I was sans fag stag. He wouldn't go see this movie. I wonder if he's exploring his heterosexual side again. And he was like, I don't want to see that movie. It looks so pretentious. And he was like, what did he say? All it is a horror movie. But the people, they're reading all of this other stuff in it. He thinks it's like a Emperor's New Clothes that people are just projecting onto this. I understand what he's thinking, what he's talking about. I've seen movies like that. What was the movie last year that won the Academy Award that didn't deserve it? Hurt Locker. Oh, I'm sure that all of you Hurt Locker fans own it and you memorized it. You know it line by line because it's your favorite film. No. They just liked it because a woman directed it. Sorry, it's true. That was a real overrated piece of shite. Who's Gonna Crash is another one, Yeah, I'm sure you guys are watching Crash and, you're having parties. Hey, everybody, come on over. We're gonna do Hurt Locker and we're gonna reenact scenes from it. Yeah, I'm sure it's a real cult favorite. Yeah, right. No, it's not. So I know what he's talking about pretentious people reading things into movies that are kind of not that great. And I don't like intellectuals either. I was doing an event with a writer, and she was talking about genre fiction and snobbery of literary people because she writes genre fiction, and she said quite smartly, I'm not going to say who it was, she said quite smartly, as if literary isn't a genre of its own. And it's really true. Because literary fiction is a genre all its own. And you know what? Most of it's crap. But you know what? Every now and then, one of them breaks through. just like a romance can suddenly break through and be a great book. Or a dumb little, slight chick-lit book can suddenly break through and become The Devil Wears Prada. Some of these things can break through, sci-fi, western, all of it can break through and transcend the genre. And that's what happens with a good literary book as compared to the vast majority of them, which are just pretentious claptrap. And it's the same thing with art house movies. Most of them are forgettable and doomed to Sundance, and they never really mean anything to anyone except for people, like the Fag Sag is saying, want to drop the name of the film or the name of the director. However, this film transcends the art house, and it's a film that can be enjoyed by a much wider audience than just the art house crowd. Okay? And the reason why is because of Natalie Portman. This movie could have been so pretentious. There were a couple times when I was bored. I had heard so much hype about this movie. But it's like everything's going along so like everything's going along everything's going along fine. Something that's weird. Everything's going along. That's weird. The same kind of formula was happening, and I was kind of like, okay. Everything looks weird, and I started to kind of, get like the fag stag and get a little jaded about it. But the performance at the center of the movie anchors the whole movie. Okay? It anchors the whole movie. To me, this movie was about three women. It was about Natalie Portman, of course, and it was about Barbara Hershey, who was so witch-like, and her performance is so modulated in that you could read any number of motivations into her performance. And she's so loving and yet so vaguely threatening at the same time. I thought it was a great comeback role for her. And Winona Ryder. Now, it was so funny because I was watching this movie, and I don't know if Aronofsky had shown a flash of her subliminally, but I started thinking about Winona Ryder before she was even in the movie. I must have read somewhere that she was in it. But I was watching this Natalie Portman role with these little girls with these tight buns and these angular faces, and I was thinking, this could have been a Winona Ryder film 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, or 20 years ago. It could have been a Winona Ryder movie, and yet she's used up and over now. Like they don't want to give her anything this big anymore. And then suddenly Winona Ryder was in the movie playing that same kind of role, which was spooky. I mean, to me that was spookier than, well, the fingernails. Nothing was spookier than cutting fingernails really quick. But that was pretty amazing casting. And she did a great job, as she always does. I have a fondness for Winona. But the big star here, of course, is Natalie Portman. She has to get the Oscar. I haven't seen all the other performances. I don't care if she has to get the Oscar. There's something that people have not been talking about. Tammy Bruce alluded to it on her show. I quote Tammy a lot because I'm a Tam and I listen to her show every day. She talked about how it's been a long time since we've seen a performance this strong, and that usually a great actress role is the woman has to become ugly or old or deformed in some way, like Nicole Kidman in The Hours or Charlize Theron in Monster. For a pretty woman to be taken seriously as an actress, she has to be become deformed in some way. And Natalie Portman doesn't, for the most part, become deformed. I would add that this is about the emotional life of a woman, where the emotional life of the woman is the top priority. And I thought of Molly Haskell and from Reverence to Rape, and I thought of the whole school of older films. You know what I thought of in this film was Garbo. the ending reminded me of Queen Christina, in that there is a finality there, and I'm not going to give away the ending if you haven't seen it. But there's an overpowering finality, and I mean the finale, the end of the movie, and the end of the storyline, that is so strong and overpowering. And the last shot reminded me of Garbo. It reminded me of the famous scene in the end, and this has nothing to do with this plot line. But the famous scene at the end of Queen Christina, when she is leaving her country, where she has given up the crown, she has given up her family, she has given up her land for love, and the man has died, and everything is lost to her, and she is completely broken, and she has to put her best face forward and face the world somehow, and has no idea where she's going. And that last shot of that face frozen like a mask, that is just so overwhelming. Was it worth it? And yet we know that it was. This has that kind of powerful woman's role in it that we have not seen since the 30s and 40s. It's modern. It's arty. If she weren't in it, it might not have worked. I think parts of it flirted with being pretentious. But I think that Natalie Portman, surprisingly, Queen Amidala, made it a work of art. And I thought she was really incredible. And by the end of it, you'll be completely won over. SmallgGay, Black Swan. Bye.